Throughout this video, I'm going to explain to you what's happening in this 3D printing process, and I'm going to explain some of what 3D printing is and what it will do eventually. So right now, it's just building the base for the 3D print that I'm doing right now of a Tardis from Doctor Who, and right now it's just building the base like I said, and it's not very thick of a base because it's just saving room, and the reason why it does that is so it has stability around the top of it. The risky part about having a thin base is that if it peels up at all throughout the build, then it has a very high risk of knocking over or being displaced, so it wouldn't be able to print it correctly. So right now, it's just building the other base of the Tardis, the normal one, the bottom rim, and what it's doing right now is in the center there is a honeycomb-shaped structure that is being built inside of it to keep it structurally together, and it will keep it together so it would be harder to break. And the reason why it doesn't just hollow it out is because it would be very brittle and you could just punch a hole through it with your fingers. If you would like one that is more hollowed out, then you would just have to make one from certain programs, or you would just have to download one from a different archive of 3D printing builds. So now that I explained sort of what it's building right now and how it's building it, I'm going to tell you what 3D printing is and what it will be doing in the future with all sorts of new things. Like, in the future it's going to be 3D printing food, sort of. You will be having multiple layers of food that's going to be printing out. It's going to be edible, like food normally is, but it won't be generating that matter out of nothing. It's going to be coming from something, like all matter has to be, but it will save a lot of room and it won't spoil as fast. So what it could do is, on space stations or in space in general, you would keep that around and you would just 3D print your meals. It would save much space compared to dehydrated compact foods, because you would need many baggies and water for it, and the water is required anyways for survival, but you wouldn't need to waste as much of the resource. And you being in space, you don't really have much of a choice to refill those resources, unless you go to Mars, of course. But other than food, a lot of the time when you think about 3D printing, you always think about how art is going to be found from it. Like multiple things, like the 3D Tardis I'm printing now, that's art, and many other things like 3D printing metal, soft metals you can do, and although it won't be very pretty at the time, you can always file it down until it's a smooth surface. Now that you can really 3D print with metal, you can get a lot of more design in your 3D printing builds, which is amazing, and amazing for artists. Just the problem is these 3D spools that you're printing out of on the Tardis right now, it's plastic and biodegradable and recyclable. And if you don't want it, they're currently making something that you can put back into the grinder and it will turn the 3D print back into a filament. And the thing is that if you start doing 3D printing with metals, is if you mess up on a build, then it would be very hard to reset it, and if you did reset it, then it would take just enough time like it did before, and you don't know if it's going to mess up again. because you would need a better structure. It'd be heavier, so if it tipped over, it would be easier for it to tip over, and you would need to heat it even more so you can melt actual metals, unless you want something like aluminum or lead or something, but lead isn't very healthy for you if you touch it too much, and aluminum is okay, it's just a little deprived of in spools. Thank you for watching, and there's a small possibility of me doing these in the future. It's just taking a long time.